Yeah, I got through skate. It felt better today and got through the skate today. As far as I know, I haven't checked after. And then we'll get him on a plane, get him off a plane, get him on the ice, and make a decision where he's at tomorrow. But he looked good today.
And then we talked about it throughout the season a lot, the value of face-offs, sometimes big, sometimes not. You guys really good in the dot in the series. Kevin Stanley, I think, is like 70%.
Yeah.
Just when possession matters, maybe even more against a team like the Oilers.
Yeah.
The face-offs maybe get highlighted a little bit more in a series like this?
Yeah, I think that's the important qualifier for in terms of possession time, right? And they excel at that. The face-offs, there's a little bit more focus on that. If you can win them, you just can keep them from having the puck as much, and that matters. I don't think, and there's probably analytics guys in here that know about this better than I do. It's not correlated to winning. It's my understanding, as they would say. If you dominated a team in the face-off circle, that doesn't actually correlate to you winning the game. But we've seen, we've all been part of one draw back of the net in overtime, and you're going, well, face-offs are everything in that game. So they're important for us.
Front right, George.
Sasha Barkov. Just, it seems like your mood is lightened tenfold the last 2 days. That helps, right? I mean, having him, yeah.
It's the driver of my mood, right? Yeah, you go through that fear, maybe is the right word. Nobody wants to lose their captain. And you don't know if you have or not for a block of time. Then you find out there's a good chance you're not going to. Then you're in a much better mood.
And he's not just the captain, right? I mean, he's your penalty killer, your power play. I mean, he does so much. I would think that he's a tough guy to replace.
Nobody's replacing their elite players. There isn't, or there would be no salary cap, right? You just have all of them. So he's a key piece.
Front right.
You've talked.
What's your hat? What's your logo?
Jupiter Hammerheads.
Very cool.
Single A team.
Very cool.
In Jupiter.
Very cool.
You've talked about over the last few weeks sometimes about how like the Boston series was mean.
Yeah.
After everything that happened in Game 2, obviously things are very intense with it being the Cup final. Do you anticipate the series kind of getting meaner?
No, I mean, intensity possibly, no, is the answer. I don't think it gets to that. I mean, there were fights at the pregame meal in that series. It was, I haven't been a part of anything. The Boston series the year before, I think there were 84 legitimate hits in the first game, and it continued. It was the same thing but mean. And then both teams, right, understand the value of staying out of the penalty box. So there's going to be big hits because that's the intensity of the game. It's more of a skating speed series. That's not going to change, right? Sure, some more hits get finished, but we're not going out of our way to do it. Neither are they. There's no sending messages. There's no sending tones. It's whatever you got to do to win a game.
Left side, first row.
First, Tarasenko wasn't out there today. What's his?
Yeah, he should be 100%. I would just think one more day and he'd be. It was a minor thing.
And then just you played so well on the road in the playoffs. What makes your team, I guess, be able to just play the same way? I mean, obviously matchups change and could change things like that, but what?
Yeah. Well, it was something that was built because I think that we got to 500 on the road last year, like right at the end of the season. Our schedule is usually heavily road weighted at the start of the year, and we struggled kind of at the start of the year last year, and that's where our losses stacked up. I don't think it was because we were on the road. I just think it was the time of our season that we happened to be on the road. This year, same, we're more heavily road weighted at the front, and we had those injuries at the start, but we had our game plan more entrenched, so we had a foundation maybe at that time that we didn't have 2 years ago. The why of it, I don't know. I don't feel that home and road matters at all, and I think it has, it's my own personal theory, everything to do with the changes in rosters since 2006. There are very few teams in the National Hockey League, and there's probably maybe two come to mind. Carolina Hurricanes and the Winnipeg Jets have a dominant checking line. Adam Lowry, Jordan Staal. So there was a time in the league where everybody had a dominated check because it wasn't a skilled-based lineup. There were a handful of star players, and the rest of them were heavyweights, hard grinders. So when you got at home and you got last match and you have a hard checking line, I think that's why you saw the differences in home and road. And the game's not. I mean, it's a different culture, different game. The threat of violence seemed way stronger 25 years ago when you were on the road, right? But there were more fights. It was just a more intimidating, potentially. So I think that we don't feel a whole lot different home and road. Certainly you get the energy boost, but once you get to a certain, I don't know, the average age, I think, of their players is like almost 30, right? And we're at about 28. Like, these are two veteran teams. They're not home and road. I think sometimes in the playoffs you feel a slight advantage on the road, right? Simpler game. You don't feel the same kind of, I don't even know if it's pressure, whatever it is, but a little less creativity, a little more simply. All of a sudden you're playing faster and you're feeling good.
Right side, third row.
Paul, you win, in NHL history, you win 91% of the time when you lead a series 2-0. Cognizant of that, but knowing you're only halfway there, what do you tell your players about being in the driver's seat, but keeping the foot on the gas pedal?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. The foundation of that stat would tell me that while there's one, there would be very few upsets in the first round. There are some. But back, especially in the 1-8 idea, that if the one team got up on the 8 team 2-0, that's why that number's so high. This is the final. These are two great teams. So you're not playing the 8th seed or the 16th seed. So that skews all of that. And then we won't think about it. It won't have anything. It won't come into.
We'll do two more
We've got
questions.
a game plan. We're running the same program.
Left side, second row.
How big have the contributions of guys like Evan been for you guys in this series?
Evan Rodriguez, players like that. Nobody gets here on their stars. I mean, they drive the bus. We would all agree with that. They're the key pieces of this. But I don't think any team gets to this point without the 20 guys you're dressing. At some point, they have to be the difference. And we would all say so many times, the elite players almost cancel each other out. Like, our top two lines and their top two lines are really, really good, right? And I understand they're different style of players, but they're all almost equally highly effective in the way they play. So then it becomes Rodriguez, who started this year with Barkov, then spent an awful lot of time with Lundell's, played both sides, moved around. So you look at him and you look at Lusteron and you look at Lundell, that was our third line for a long time. Those guys have all been incredibly important. What's the importance of winning game two when Barkov goes down, falls in a lot of ways on Lundell's shoulders, and we closed it out. So I would say that over all of the minutes that you play, your elite players have to be great all the time. But there's going to be a block of time for each player on your roster that he will be the difference in that block of time before you win or lose. And, in a couple of games this year, the playoffs, it's been Evan's time, and he's made the most of it.
Last question, left side, first row.
Another one sort of on playing on the road. You haven't played a game outside the Eastern time zone in, I think, 3 months.
Yeah.
What was the reason, I guess, waiting another day to go? Was there some street sleep science behind it or anything like
All
that?
of it, right? You take in the whole kind of, we got a bunch of really smart guys. They're all doctors of whatever it is they study. And you can argue on either side whether it was a value going a day in. So we didn't want the idea of I got to my place, and when you win, you do media last. It's close to 1 o'clock by the time I get home. There's no party after the games. You come in, you do your work, you pack your bag, and you go home, right? So it's about 1 o'clock in the morning. We didn't really like the idea of getting them up to get them into a reasonable time in Edmonton that early that we would have to do that. So we didn't see a value in it. It's also all logistics. I mean, I don't know the entire decision-making part. We're going to go up there and we're going to be fairly cloistered, right? Just with the amount of people outside, we'll stay close to the rink. So we're going to be kind of in that building. We didn't necessarily need to be another day in there. So there wasn't enough in the, hey, you are better if you get in the time zone a day early, because the game's going to change by an hour, right? It's going to be a 6 o'clock game. So there's a change. Our practice, morning skate time's good. There's another change. There'll be like 10 changes that both teams have to deal with. You're used to it.